Hi there, it's Kevin with Rogue Deck Builder here with this week's episode of the Market Friday? Friday? Okay, well, it counts. It counts. This is Market Monday. On it Friday, we are going to be discussing the list and how that is going to be impacting the purchase of singles to see if the singles are still something that you can flip. Now, the short answer, the TLDR, is yes. So, why I am saying that it is still viable, even beyond reserve list, is yes, things like mystery booster boxes and double masters and all the products they've printed in the last, all the reprint products, specifically reprint products they have printed in the last year, yes, it does affect the ability for card prices to go up substantially. We're not going to see the huge price increases or the consistent price increases for a long period of time. What this is going to do is this is going to shorten the window for which you can actually invest in cards and then have to flip them, which I actually am okay with, because not only is this going to make the mountains less spiky, it's going to make the valleys also less deep at times. Like if the reprints trickle in, that gives you better opportunity to judge the supply and actually make moves on that supply. So something like this with the set boosters, with having so many cards that are in this list, these are going to be a lot more rare than, say, if a Helm of Caldera was printed in a Commander deck, for example. So we know how these work with treasure chests. The only problem that I'm having with the list or these particular products is it's being run by Wizards of the Coast, and you can already see some glaring issues of lack of communication between whoever designed the list and whoever designed something like mystery boosters. I mean, they probably should be the same people, but there are just so many cards in the list that have been recently included in other reprint sets, and I think that is a bad look at poor Maelstrom Nexus. Is a triple printing now for Maelstrom Nexus of getting hit in mystery booster boxes of foil, now being out of the list in the Zendikar Rising, and then it was also in Double Masters. So what are they thinking? What are they doing? And this was kind of the problem we had with treasure chests on MTGO, is when a card got stuck on the treasure chest list for too long. I like to talk about Ugin in this particular. If you can go back and look at my Rogue Market video I put out yesterday, the problem with there were 6-cent Ugins. So we're talking about their Ugin at the time was like a $50 card in paper, and it was 6 cents on MTGO. Not because there was no demand, but because they kept forgetting to take it off of the treasure chest list, and the card just got completely destroyed supply-wise. Just opened and opened and opened, and a mythic ended up being less rare than a common on MTGO. So that's what my one worry with Wizards of the Coast is they're going to do this improperly. And so far, it looks like they're incompetent in actually running the list properly. What this is meant to do is make cards more accessible, make it so that reprints don't have to be shoot in to a product that then makes them very tough to be shoot into them. So like we're talking about very set specific mechanics or cards that are hard, like mythic cards that are really, really tough to take up a slot, and where they've been putting these is in core sets, and with core sets going bye-bye, well, who knows if for long term if they will. This is the way that they have to get the reprints in. So that's issue number one. Issue number two with the list that I'm having is, why are they printing special cards in the list? Like, this is for reprints. What Wizards of the Coast, unfortunately, I think, are taking away the collectible of the collectible card game. A braid was meant to be something. This version, if they want another version of a braid, go for it. Chuck it in there. Make new artwork. Make something. But when they just flat out reprint things that were special, I believe this was an FNM promo, it makes attending those particular events not as lucrative. And the big one here is this Lightning Bolt, Magic Fest Lightning Bolt. This was something that was supposed to be attracting people to go to this Magic Fest. It's like, hey, collect this. You're going to get a one-of-a-kind card for coming to this event. And it takes away that aspect of the collectible card game and the specialness of attending these sort of events. So these things make me scratch my head because they're just so unnecessary. Wizards of the Coast does not need to be having these promo specifics in these slots. They could have easily just done, I know they're called reprints. This is what they're supposed to be, like reprints in these. So they're looking for like a version that they're reprinting. Why just make a new one? Make a new one for the set boosters rather than cannibalizing something that has been printed at a special event or a special release. So they're taking away the collectability of the collectible card game, and I think that's a huge mistake for Wizard of the Coast. It's going to be, it's going to make these things less sought after in the long term. So let's go over the list, and we're going to just go through it and see the cards and how they're going to fare. Again, these are set boosters or printed demand. We have yet to wait to see if they are going to be opened as much as people think they are. And so far, looking over this list, there are plenty of high value cards that I think are going to make people continue to crack these and crack these and crack these and crack these. Kind of sad though when Wizards of the Coast can't sell their newest sets and they need to put reprints in these sets to really drive that home. It's just a kind of a slap in the face for how bad design has been for being able to attract players to buying their new. I mean, I guess not so. There have been some sets like Throne of Eldraine that had, of course, chase cards. They ended up getting banned, or even War of the Spark. But it's been very, very tough for Wizards to find that balance of not creating a card that needs to be banned versus a card that will actually be sought after. I think the last one we really had was Ravnica Allegiance with the Smothering Tithe. Would be one that comes to mind of people really wanting to open a set for a particular card. So let's go ahead and let's go down these lists. So Relentless Rats getting a reprint. Oubliette. So Oubliette now, your double masters are even worse off. I've never liked Oubliette. A lot of people have argued with me about Oubliette, but the problem with Oubliette is it's an uncommon in double masters. The problem with uncommons is VIPs seem to have the most supply out of double masters, and an uncommon out of double masters will be foil, and it will actually be more common than a common because there was as many common slots as there were uncommon slots in VIPs, and there were more commons in the set than there were uncommons. So it made Oubliette actually more common in the foil version than it did probably in the non-foil version, just with the amount of supply from the VIPs. Again, the issue when they create VIPs and they create secret layers, they create all these things, is it starts losing their specialness. A foil card no longer is something that is bling. It's just, in fact, a lot of times it's just a liability, where we've seen cards from double masters in their foil versions actually be less than the versions in their non-foil versions, and that's something like I picked up hundreds of Abrades in foil. They were actually cheaper. What's the other one? The Death Reap Ritual. Death Reap Ritual is one I went pretty deep on in the foil version because it was cheaper. Got them for like 5 cents a piece because it was cheaper than the non-foil version from double masters, and a lot of people were just trying to recoup their value from double masters from chasing those super expensive cards. And we'll have to do another update video on double masters. By the way, double masters is not faring well. Maybe we'll get this at the very end of the video. And one of the reasons why I continue to think it's not going to fare well is many of the cards were actually printed in this. So we do see Oubliette here, which does add to some value of the double masters, but overall there are some other cards that we'll point out here that are just like make you scratch your head of why they're included in this particular set. So we have other cards that were recently reprinted, like the Eternal Witness, which was in mystery booster boxes. So Boots, there are plenty of them that have had very, very recent reprints. So not only are there recent reprints as far as the specialty sets, we have recent reprints from even things like Ravnica Allegiance or Amonkhet. These did not have enough time to really start to go up in value, and the targets are also very interesting, like Anointed Priest. This might have some sort of, I know they wanted to put cards in here that had synergy with other cards, so they actually were next to other cards. I don't know if that's the slot. I think the list, though, had its specific list of where it was, but someone correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. If like Anointed Priest will be in that slot, or if it's going to be in like an uncommon slot that is going to be paired next to another card that it actually synergizes with. I'm thinking that some of those will be the case. If not, I mean, man, that's a feel bad card to open up in that particular slot. We have some pretty, of course, stinkers here in cards that have no they have actually no demand whatsoever. Those are going to fare very well, or very, very poorly in these sort of slots. Then we start to get some biggies like Land Tax. There's a perfect example from a 2XM card that was now reprinted from. Now look at Battle Bond, wasn't even that long ago. So we have Land Tax getting 3 reprints in 2 years. That's a bad sign for these particular high value cards. A thing about Land Tax though is Land Tax is going to be a card that when you reprint it, it does recover. So that's what I'm talking about. That definitely investing in single product is not dead. I have done this with other games before that had even higher reprint. Like you can guarantee some cards get reprinted in other collectible card games very quickly, or even going back into Commander, you can look at cards that were reprinted basically in every Commander set, like Sol Ring, and it was still worthwhile to invest in Soul Rings after a Commander product was released, because they did double up by the time they reprinted again. And so I think that actually gives a good opportunity for these particular cards. Like, you are going to have better deals. Yes, you're going to have a harder time finding those massive spikes or that consistent gain, or having a good 3 to 4 years before a card gets reprinted. Those days are over with Magic the Gathering and investing in singles products. But the thing that is now new is you're going to have better opportunities to buy these at really, really low prices after these sets have been reprinted. And I think that it's because it's going to take a while for the finance community or players in general to gauge the effect of reprints. So I think that they're going to compare these to actually being printed in a normal set and being, oh man, I got to get rid of these cards that are being reprinted. And the supply is going to be much lower since the list is much higher. Hopefully, we don't know yet. That's my guess, though, and it's going to lead to some really bargains of these cards being just dumped and then picking them up for pennies on a dollar, and then have them snap back to where their value should be based upon the supply that was injected based upon the demand that was there before. So anyway, hope that makes sense of how I explain that. But I'm actually liking cards like Land Tax. If Land Tax does just drop in price like crazy from 2XM and now from the list. Again, there are some ones that aren't worth talking about. Primal Vigor is another good card. Loro's another good card. A lot of these ones from Commander the Commander sets. This can be a good way for them to get in these particular cards. Let's see if we can figure out some other cool ones here, some other noteworthy ones. At Tuk Tuk. Tuk Tuk was just reprinted. Gets another reprint. Womp Womp. Got Skull Clamp in here from Commander. That tends to rebound. And there's another Cancel's Judgment that just had a reprint. So we get a reprint on a reprint. Got a Thrumming Stone. That's a pretty cool reprint. And then stuff from Dominaria. Wow, they actually targeted quite a bit. Poor History of Benalia. That card's actually not even worth anything right now. It's like $1. And it's going to get crushed. Got Muldrotha, though. This is the problem, though. Excuse me. Is Muldrotha is a card that actually has been faring quite well because of Commander. It's one of the most sought after commanders in all of Commander, one of the most popular ones, and it had the really steady trajectory. Maybe let's pull this up here, and I'll give you an example of how this is going to affect these sets. So let's take a look at Muldrotha, and this was a card that wasn't considered a competitive card by any stretch of the imagination. So this is what typically happens with standard sets. This is not as relevant now with collector's editions, but this will be at the very first. You'll have some hype from the EDH players. So it comes out, the EDH players want it. They'll pay $8 for it. But EDH at first has historically not been enough to move a card when it first hits the supply. So when all of the standard players need their 4 of copies, and when standard is healthy, when modern is healthy, if a card does not see specifically Commander, Pioneer, Modern, it starts to crash in value. So then it crashes down. It was all the way down to $3 when Muldrotha hit its bottom. And then you start to see the EDH players then pick it back up. EDH players get their budget versions of it. And then it has this big stabilizing for when it is mainly in its print run of standard, when it's still being drafted or still being, so there still is drafts going on in this time period. And then come rotation, that's when it really starts to pick up. And what I like about EDH cards, this is traditionally what they do. They have this slow and steady increase until their supply is mainly moved out. So right here, Thanos, the supply probably ran dry of Dominaria, and then bam, this card can really start to increase in value. And man, this looks like a little bit of insider info here with Muldrotha. There could be some just price correction too. There might have been a commander that pushed out Muldrotha for the place. What is the other one that came out? I think there was one in these Sultai colors that came out right here in Ikoria that might have pushed it, or in Theros that pushed it out. And then we saw maybe a little bit of price correction here, because sometimes when this line goes up too quickly, there ends up being a price correction. But then now it's going to definitely tank because of the set boosters. So again, this is what I like about EDH cards is they have this slow trajectory. But however, Now, though, Wizards of the Coast seems to be looking at when they start to see a card going up, they put it on the list and then it's going to get a reprint. So it's going to be harder for cards like Muldrotha. The time period in which you can actually buy in and sell them, I think, is going to be lower. The window definitely needs to collapse to about right here by the time that you think that this card is going to be reprinted. So it's going to make the game more aggressive. It's going to be much harder. And so I think finance is moving over to people that can be more efficient. So what I mean by efficient is being able to avoid fees from like eBay or TCG Player, to be able to move higher volumes of cards, to effectively utilize buy lists, to effectively use like Facebook groups and other ways to move the quantity of cards. And this efficiency will be the game in flipping singles. The day of just the duh cards, like back in the day with like Inkmoth Nexus was one that after it rotated out, when it knew it was going to get crushed, it was being played in Modern and in a top tier deck. It was just duh that the demand would outstretch the supply, and you'd be able to flip it by the time that Wizards of the Coast actually reprinted. Reprints used to make a lot more sense. You'd have to have Wizards of the Coast find a place like a specialty set for a particular card, and they typically only happen maybe once a year, and then there was plenty of time to or just the odds were in your favor that your card would not get reprinted, and there would be a good opportunity to flip that card when the demand peaks were extremely high. So that is my concern about the newest one, is you have to become a lot more, or the new way of doing MG Finance is you have to become a lot more efficient at flipping cards. So a lot of goodies though down here too, like Eldrazi Temple, definitely need a reprint. And we have many other cards, though, that definitely make you scratch your head about what Wizards is doing with their own equity. Now, Brazen Borrow has had another reprinting. It had the Challenger deck reprinting, and now is in the set, which is a huge, like, I guess, red flag with Wizards that they're not afraid to take equity from their current standard sets to give to their newer sets to actually to sell cards. So Brazen Borrower will be enough to attract people to want to buy this. It's going to add value to this set booster for people to want to crack. Let's see here if we can find some other ones that have been recently reprinted. We've got Thanos here. Oh, that sucks. This is like a soft spec that I spec'd into, because this card unfortunately does see a lot of play in like Modern, tons of play in Modern. Does see play from time to time in Pioneer, but unfortunately competitive has just been so stinky that even a card with a 4 of in a top tier deck in Modern cannot move. It's been stagnant ever since it's even rotated out of Standard. We have Wastes that are getting a reprint. Don't know if this is going to be able to affect it much, because Wastes are usually 20 to 25 in decks that actually run them in EDH, and so it's going to take a lot higher reprint to actually dumb down the price of this. Zendikar Resurgence usually does snap back after it does get reprinted. I believe it has had a Commander reprinting. We have Eldrazi Displacer too that might make a good target if it does bottom out. Let's see here, some other ones. Icecrown Scepter just got another reprint. This is another 2 reprints in a row. Let's see. Anyone else in the comment section can definitely hammer this out. Oh, we got a really a juicy one here with Food Chain. This is like an $80 card that is now getting a reprint. Ren and 6, another very high value card that is getting a reprint. We got Arkham's Astrolabe that's banned and everything that is getting a reprint. And then we have Colonial Hydra. That's a goodie. Let's go down here for some other ones. No, I saw some other ones that were recently reprinted. We got Cryptic Command. We have not as many as I thought, but there are some that do make you scratch your head about being included right into 2XM, and then immediately there's Simian Spirit Guide that was a mystery reprint. Wrath of God, which was a promo out of doing these old school arts too. This is wow. I get the reserve list. Like I mean I get like wanting to get rid of the reserve list because of having playable versions of cards, but going in and just like fully reprinting a card with the same artwork and even the same wording, right? They don't even change the wording of these cards, and just putting that Planeswalker symbol in the bottom left. That is, I don't know. Like, to me, that's the thing that makes me more uneasy than anything, is these type of cards like this, and the lightning bolt, the specialty lightning bolt. I mean, why do this? What's the point? Like, that was the whole point of collectability with Magic the Gathering. I don't understand. That's why you have these sets that are old and then highly sought after, is for these like arts. Why do you need to make these sort of things accessible when you can have newer versions of them? I don't know. To me, that's really weird of Wizards of the Coast to be wanting to really affect that, because they don't really add equity at that point. Like Wrath of God from Portal, let's just check that out. How much is Wrath of God from Portal? So we go down to Portal. Man, look at this card's been printed forever. So it had a price tag. Yeah, it had a nice little healthy price tag that wasn't... I guess it does have a little bit of anchoring based upon other cards. And it was going... I guess it was stabilizing going back up just because of the rarity of it. And they decided to print this version of it, I guess, because it supposedly adds more equity. But the problem is it doesn't. The reason why this card was worth money was because the specialness. When they put it in this set booster, it's not going to anchor. If you look at like mystery booster boxes, you can see, or mystery price tags, you can see what I'm talking about. It doesn't anchor this price. What it's going to anchor is this price. So out the gates, the new version, even though it's the exact same copy, exact same artwork with just a symbol, it's not going to like come out the gates as being an $11 card. It's for players that are going to pick this up, it's going to be anchored on this latest version of Wrath of God. So this just really makes me scratch my head with why they include these ones. I think they should leave these older cards alone and give some collectability for those sort of things, because that is healthy for the game. I don't think they need to be concerned about the secondary market price of these particular stuff to try to sell sets, because I don't think it will do so. Yeah, it just makes it just a lose-lose for everyone. Anyway, other good ones in here like Emrakul, Training Grounds, lots of value. Set boosters are going to be absolutely sought after. Have some other scratch your headers in Skithrax and Rest in Peace that just barely had multiple reprinting. Now Rest in Peace is going to have a very, very tough card. And again, look what they did. They took the signature spellbook version. So a product that is already having a tough time to sell, one of the chase cards in it, one of the cards that it has the best playability, Rest in Peace, they go ahead and just print the exact same copy of it in the set boosters. Rather than taking another version that was less collectible and throwing them in these set boosters. So that's huge concern about these. I've never liked specialty like foils and stuff because of this very reason. It loses their specialness when they just create secret layers. I've always been, my bread and butter has just been the normal versions of cards, the normal demand, the actual wide spectrum of people that want a card to actually play in a deck is the cards that I've typically sought after for, a portfolio for when investing in cards. I don't like these sort of things because A, they're hard to find a buyer at exactly you want them. When you're looking across the board of Magic players, it's much easier to sell a regular version of a card for someone that wants it in a commander deck than it is to go and find that collector that wants a specific version of a card. Poor Skittles gets another reprinting in this set. So anyway, there is my 2 cents about this product. Now, another thing that is very concerning about this year is we still have Commander Legends, which is going to add even more reprints into the mix. So the good news is Wizards of the Coast can't do this indefinitely. There has to come a time to where they have to put an end to just reprinting, because each time they do this, we even saw this with Expeditions. So when Expeditions were highly sought after, and they still were able to maintain that with Kaladesh Inventions. But by the time Amonkhet came around with, can't remember what they called those, invocations, as they called them, the specialness just wore off, and people just like, they're going to do this every set. We're not going to go full out on these particular cards. And I think this is what's going to happen with these set boosters, especially even things like getting spellbooks. Like, this is going to hurt the, I don't think you should ever reprint the versions of like Gideon spellbooks. Like, that should be something that was specific. Like, same thing as secret layers. Secret layers should be specific to that secret layer. That artwork should be, okay, this is the time you get this artwork, and it's a one and done. There's no reason to be reprinting those particular artworks. I know I sound like a broken record, been saying that, probably 10 times in this video, but wow, Wizards, what are you doing with your collectability of your card game? Why are you making special things not special? It's just, it just blows my mind. Anyway, I am starting to get redundant here, so I think we're going to call this video here. That's my 2 cents on the reprints of set boosters. We'll see what Commander Legends actually. I wouldn't be caught dead with anything Commander playable. I think like cards even like Cyclonic Rift will probably get another reprint in Commander Legends. There are plenty of cards. Just go to EDH Rec and look at the top 10 cards of each color, and if they aren't reserve list and they haven't had, even if they had a recent reprint, I'd dump them. I think the 2020 is going to be the year of looking for these cards that have bottomed out and just sinking a lot of money in cards that I don't think they're going to be able to reprint just because of how many times they've been reprinted. Now, like even like cards like a Braid actually look pretty promising long term, but I mean, you have to sink a lot of money into braids and hope for a buy list to go up in like 2 to 3 years if it doesn't get another reprint and Pioneer actually does spike these up. But then again, will they just look at the demand from Pioneer and be like, hey, we'll put a braid in this next set set edition of the of Kalaheim or whatever else comes out. So weird time for Magic the Gathering, with many factors of coming in with this reprint hell that we've been experiencing of 2020. Hey, it's going to make the game more accessible, but I think Wizards is really shooting themselves in the foot by targeting these highly collectible or just making foils worthless or alternate art versions worthless when deciding to go for these reprints. Anyway, this has been Kevin with the Rogue Deck Builder. We'll have Market Monday on Market Monday this time, not on a Friday. I thought I'd just get this video out here with the spoilers for the set boosters. Now, I guess before we do close this video, there is lag in set boosters. There is a reprint problem. The Texas printers are still having issues. Wizards is so backed up trying to fulfill older sets. Man, they need to find another printer for this particular stuff to just catch up on all the product that they're missing. They've even pushed back now Commander Legends. At least the collector's editions have been pushed back, and there have been some other things that have been pushed back as well. So set boosters are print to demand. They will continue to. WotC's printers go brrr when it goes to, money printing things when they are hot. So Jumpstart's still getting another reprint. There are many other things that are still getting reprints that we have yet to see the full supply of. Rumored of Double Masters around Christmas time getting another reprint for the booster boxes. All that stuff is still on the table. Wizards has not confirmed or denied that even things like 2XM has had their end. So what we mean by print to demand for things like Zendikar is even things like theme boosters or Planeswalker decks or bundles are historically they are print to demand. Bundles traditionally haven't had multiple waves of reprinting. We did see it with Ravnica Allegiance, had another wave of bundles because of how popular those bundles were. But so set boosters will have their first wave, and how it works with print to demand, if like the thing that they continue to print very high volumes of is going to be the draft boosters. They don't want a scenario in which draft boosters actually run out and then people won't be able to, draft the product. They consider that like a playable format. So as long as it's on its life of its standard life, they want those boxes available to draft. So those are the highest, when we talk about print runs, those are usually the highest print runs. Things that aren't print to demand are things like collector's edition. Those are usually one and dones. Wizards Coast prints their one wave and it's over with those. But things like set boosters or theme boosters or bundles are considered print to demand, and they will do multiple waves based upon the demand. Other things that have been print to demand in the past that actually have aged incredibly well have been things like Battle Bond. Battle Bond was print to demand. It actually had 3 or 4 waves. Conspiracy 1 and Conspiracy 2 were print to demand. The problem with like Battle Bond and Conspiracy 1 and Conspiracy 2 is that demand actually did dry out. Wizards of the Coast was watching it when the booster boxes quit moving. That's when they quit, printing more of stuff. And one of the things that happened with Battle Bond is the demand was a little bit lagging. Some of those price cards like Doubling Season and the land base out of Battle Bond were actually slower moving than Wizards hoped. They didn't have the demand that Wizards anticipated. And then it seemed when they turned the printers off for Battle Bond and took it out of print to demand, that's when people actually wanted the cards. And that's why we have a Battle Bond that then skyrocketed afterwards. So anyway, that's enough talk for today. We'll get back to this subject on the usual Monday. This has been Kevin with the Rogue Deck Builder. Thanks for watching.